Today, we are going to empty the freezer of our chicken scraps and vegetable scraps and make some chicken broth. Hello friends, welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you're with Grammy in the kitchen. Okay, so technically I don't need to make chicken stock. I do have 25 quarts in the pantry at the moment, but I just want to get all this stuff out of the freezer. So we're just going to do it just to be doing it. So I took out my bags of chicken water, and this is the frozen chicken water that when we made the chicken wings for quick and easy cooking. Took these out of the freezer. They are still frozen. And I have 3 bags, each with a half of a gallon. Then I have a quart size bag with, I can't remember, 2 or 3 cups. Can't remember. But we're going to put all that in the roaster. And I also have 4 gallon size bag of both chicken bones and backbones, where we cut up the chicken into fryer parts. And I also have vegetable scraps. So all of that is going to go into the roaster. Here's the roaster. I'm going to start off by putting the frozen chicken water in here. I do have it on a keep warm right now. And this bag has some raw chicken in it, backbones, wing tips, leg bones where we, the thigh bones that we deboned. This bag has some cooked chicken in it where we roasted, and some vegetables and some raw bits and pieces in there. This bag has some vegetable ends and some cooked chicken in it. Now once these ice cubes thaw and get in there, that's when we'll know how much water we need to add in here. This bag has a raw chicken back in there, might be 2, and some vegetable scraps. Now the 4 bags that we had with our chicken scraps and our vegetable scraps, I am not throwing these away. These will go in the freezer and I'll reuse these. I have it sitting on 300 degrees, and we're just going to let that melt, all the ice chunks to melt. Then we'll realize how much water we need to put in there. So we're just going to leave that alone for right now. I'm going to throw a couple bay leaves. Looks like I got 4 or 5. I am going to add a whole garlic bulb. Just going to slice it right down the middle. Peeling everything. I did add about a half of a pitcher of water, which is about a half of a gallon. We still have some ice chunks in here. Bones are still kind of frozen. Alright, we're just going to let that be. Alright, so the chicken stock's been cooking all night long. And all the bones have fallen apart. You can't even find a backbone in here. It just totally fell apart. That's what we want. So I'm putting a bowl in the sink with a colander and a piece of cheesecloth. And I'm going to scoop everything out, strain it. The only thing I added in here fresh was 1 garlic clove couple peppercorns, and some bay leaves. Everything else was just scraps we had in the freezer. I have my 3-gallon stock pot. I'm going to put the strained broth in. So that's 1 bowl. We'll just repeat the process until this roaster is empty. I am making a mess. Oh my God. Don't do as I do. I'm sorry, the washer and dryer's on. It's like literally right behind me. But we got the roaster emptied. I have all of the bone scraps, vegetable scraps in this colander and a cheesecloth. Just going to leave it inside the roaster. This is my 3-gallon stock pot and we are right there. So this is going to go in the refrigerator for, today is Thursday and it's 8:30 in the morning. So this is going to go in the refrigerator, and then Friday when I get off work, I'll skim the fat off, because it's easier to skim the fat off once it settles for a while. So I'll skim the fat off, and then we'll go ahead and heat this up, and we'll put them in jars, and we'll can these. But this is free food, because when we bought those whole chickens and we cut those up into fryer parts, a lot of this was just backbones and the wing tips. So that didn't cost us anything. The vegetable scraps was where we were cooking other things, and we had onion scraps and garlic scraps and whatever is in here. I mean, it's just all kinds of scraps. We just stuck those in a Ziploc bag and also put those in the freezer. So this cost nothing. The only thing fresh I put in the roaster when I was cooking the bones was peppercorn, bay leaf, and 1 whole garlic bulb. That's all we put in here fresh. Everything else was scraps. And and also we saved our chicken water when we cooked our chicken wings. So that gave me a boost of nutrients in my chicken stock. So I'm going to let this sit on the stove and cool down so that I can get in the refrigerator. So once it gets cold enough to touch the pan without burning my fingers, that's when I'll put it in the refrigerator. And then it's going to sit in there for over 24 hours until we're ready to can it tomorrow. So chicken stock does take time, but it's free food. Stop throwing your bones away, stop throwing your vegetable scraps away, and make yourself homemade chicken stock. Now we're going to go ahead and put our chicken stock in jars and get that process in the canner. We left it in the countertop roaster for 15 hours. We strained it, put it in a pot, stuck it in the refrigerator so that the fat can solidify so we can easily pull that off. Now we got to heat up our chicken stock. I have the canner on the stove heating up with the required amount of water. I got the jars in the sink in some hot water because we are doing a hot pack. So our contents, which is chicken stock, has to be hot, going in hot jars, going into a hot canner. So it's going to be a great day. Aprons on. Let's get started. So that is our strained chicken stock, and you can see the fat on the top. Putting this in the refrigerator just makes it so much easy to get this fat off. It is not a requirement. You can actually can it with the fat, but you have to be super, super careful that you don't get fat on your rims of the jars because it will prohibit it from making a good seal. So I like to remove the fat. Oh, this thing is beautiful. I have got gel in my stock. That means I got all the good nutrients of the bones in here, and this is what we want. We want a good gel in our stock. This is beautiful. So that is all the fat. I just want you to see how this gelled. Can you see that? Oh, that is gorgeous. Oh, gorgeous. Alright, so I'm going to put this on the stove. So this is my All-American 921 canner. I have it filled up with the required amount of water for pressure canning. Now I'm going to put the stock on the stove. Once this gets heated up, I'll bring you right back and we'll start filling up some jars. I have started my pressure canning journey in 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. And I was watching a lot of YouTube channels about home preservation. I don't have a yard where I can have an in-ground garden. So this year I'm doing buckets or container gardening. Buckets with tomatoes. I have a few buckets with potatoes. And I'm growing herbs and some other things. That is something new for me this year. But canning I have been doing for a little bit over 3 years. And I absolutely love it. I have made chicken broth several times. This is the first time I have cooked my chicken and vegetable scraps in the countertop electric roaster, and I'll let it cook for 15 hours. And it finally congealed. I am so happy. I have a congealed chicken broth when it's cold. And I just took a taste. I put a spoon in it because I'm heating it back up right now. But I took a spoon and I tasted it. And I've got to say, this is the best chicken stock I have ever made in my life. So good. Now I have made chicken stock prior to pressure canning. But like a lot of people, I just put it in a Ziploc bag or a jar and I just stuck it in the freezer. But having shelf-stabled chicken stock is more convenient because I don't have to think too far ahead to get it out of the freezer, let it thaw, and then use that product. I can just go to the shelf, pop a lid, and I have chicken stock instantly. I just recently purchased an electric countertop pressure canner for my daughter in North Carolina, and she was in the process of making chicken stock, and she was able to can this, and this is her first canning experience, but she used electric canner, and she said she loves it. She sent me a text thanking me, and now she doesn't have to worry about taking valuable real estate from her freezer to store her stock. She can now can it and put it on a shelf and have chicken stock at the ready. So I encourage you, if you don't get a stovetop canner like I have, because there's a Presto, I have the All-American. Presto is a lot cheaper, a lot economical friendly than the All-American or even the electric one. But get you a canner, get you a pressure canner. Save your chicken scraps or your bones from whether you want beef or pork or anything. Save your bones and save your vegetable scraps. Everything but potatoes. Potatoes is too starchy for a stock. But save all the other vegetables and put them in a Ziploc bag, stick it in your freezer, and when you get enough scraps to make a batch of stock, just put it on the stovetop with some water, or like I did, put it on a countertop roaster with some water and just let it cook for hours. The reason I did it on the countertop roaster is because I wanted to cook for a long time, and I didn't want to have my stove on while I was sleeping. Some people are comfortable with that. I am not. So putting it on the countertop roaster will allow me to be able to just roast it slow and long. So start saving your scrap. Start making free food from it, like chicken stock. We got our chicken stock heated up. Our jars are warm, and our canner that's on the stove is warm. I am using 4 jars lids. This is not sponsored. I love these lids. I have had 0 failure with the lids. Now I did have one that did fail a while back, but that was my fault. I didn't wipe my rims well enough. But 0 failure with these lids. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and fill up our jars. We're going to go to an inch head space, which is this ring at the very bottom of the threads. I'm telling you, this is the best stock I have ever made. It is delicious. And that's the thing with stock, is because you can't repeat the flavors, because when I make mine, it's whatever scraps I have collected over time. So this has a lot of backbones in it and a lot of onions, scraps, and different things like that. So I won't be able to mimic this, but I think the 15 hours that it was on the countertop roasting made a big difference. That is a must for me from now on. Alright, I'm just taking some vinegar on a paper towel, wiping the rim. I have my 4 jar lids. Fingertip tight. Do not crank down your lids, just fingertip tight. 3 going into the canner. Two more. My All-American 921 canner will hold 7 quart jars. Two more going in the canner. And to keep my jars clean without having any residue on it, I'm going to add some of this vinegar right into the canner. We just put the lid on. Before we crank down the wing nuts, we're going to do a visual to make sure from the base to the lid is even all the way around. I need to crank this side down just a bit. So I got it all locked down. Have the burner up to a medium. We're going to let this start steaming out of the vent hole. Once it comes to a full steam for 10 minutes, then we're going to put on our weight. My altitude is 10 pounds of pressure. Once this thing starts jiggling, that is when my time starts, and time for chicken broth is 25 minutes. So we ended up with 7 quarts of chicken stock that we were able to can. And I had 2 left over, and I wasn't going to run the canner for just 2. So 1 jar I used for dinner last night. I cooked some rice. And the last jar, I'm just going to, this is an uncanned chicken stock. I'm going to leave it in the refrigerator, and I'll make sure I use this within the next 5 days. But we have 7 very concentrated chicken stock going on the shelf. I did taste this when we were heating it up prior to canning, and I must say, this is the best chicken stock I have ever made, and I've made a lot of chicken stock in my days. This was so good, and I believe it's because we put it on the countertop roaster and we roasted it for 15 hours continuously. Because on the stovetop, I will only do it for about 3 or 4 hours, because I'm not going to leave my gas running on the stove while I'm asleep. But the countertop electric roaster, I will leave it going while I'm asleep, and that's exactly what we did. So good. And it is a liquid now, but when it's cold, it has a congeal to it. And that means we got all the minerals, all of the collagen, all of the nutrients from those bones. So now we have a healthy, body healing chicken stock that we're able to keep on our shelves for future use. And you know, I talk about the 4-jar lids. I absolutely love 4-jar lids. This video is not sponsored by them, but I have had zero failure with the 4-jar lids. So if you do a lot of canning, or if you're planning on doing a lot of canning, go to the link below to 4Jars. The last time I looked at their website, you can get 100 of the regular mouth and 100 of the wide mouth lids for right around $65. So you get 200 lids for less than $65. I think that is a bargain. They're an American brand lids. Get you some 4-jar lids if you're planning on doing water bath, pressure canning, or a combination of both. They are high quality canning lids. If you find any value in this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe. This is a kitchen where we make delicious food using real ingredients that are healthy and nutrient to our bodies, including a really good quality chicken stock that cost us nothing, made completely from chicken scraps and vegetable scraps. So until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, friends.